Hi, this is Marie Auner. I'm going to go through and show you how some techniques for debugging JavaScript. We'll go through some examples how to solve simple syntax errors using the inspect or inspect element options depending on which browsers you use. I'll show you how to set breakpoints when using functions, how to examine variables and its contents, how to check only your breakpoints, and how to step through your code line by line to examine variables or any other logic you want to look at. So first of all, I just want to explain this program here. This is a very simple program HTML page that simply calls one function. And we've learned in Learning Plan 5 is introducing that, how to take all your logic out of your HTML file and put it in the JS folder that is located in your learning plans. So I have one function called main function, and what that does, it calls this function code file in here, and I have a main function. So what's important is that if you have any other calls in here, that at least from your HTML you're calling this main function. And one other reminder, in order to make functions work correctly, is you do have to have the script tag, which is located towards the top of your HTML file. It's usually around line 45 to 50, something like that. But you have to have what folder your functions are in and what file name all your functions are in. So folder, file name, which matches the JS files, and then your function name has to be exactly correct in your file itself. And this is called main function, and that's called main function. So first of all, I'm just going to run it as it is. And all I did is get my heading information, and I do see that I don't have my normal output. So something is wrong here. So this is the first thing that I wanted to show you how to do. Depending on if you're in Firefox or Chrome, always right click anywhere on your web page, select inspect. And when you select inspect, click on the console tab. It may show up down below, but I have console, and then you will see that there's some error. Might not explain it exactly, as doesn't tell you a whole lot. It says unexpected identifier. So over here, function code, it's on line 21. So I'm going to click on that and look at line 21, and I'm initializing total to 0, but I got an A there instead of an equal sign. So syntax errors are pretty easy because just by going to the console tab, you might have 5 syntax errors. You just click on one at a time. It tells you what line number. So I'm going to correct that error first. And save it. And then rerun it. And I'm prompting for 2 numbers, so I'm going to enter a 5 and a 10. And now I have my sample output. And like I said, I simplified it. It doesn't look anything like your learning plan folders as far as your HTML file. But I do have some document write lines that says, okay, I entered a 5 and a 10. I'm adding them together in the main function. My answer is not correct, but I didn't get any syntax errors. I can double check, but obviously I wouldn't get that output if I had syntax errors. So I checked my console tab, there's no errors here. So go back to that again, and what I'm going to still do is right click and click Inspect, and I'm going to show you how to set some breakpoints. So click on the Sources tab now, and you'll be able to see whatever files that you are using in here. You'll see that here's my HTML file, and then also open up your JS files folder, and I'm going to take a look at some of that logic in that code. So again, here it is. I have it open in brackets, but this is the Source tab within Inspect Element. So in order to set breakpoints is a place that you can stop your program execution and kind of go line by line or examine certain breakpoints. Let me just delete a few of these here that I have and then show you how I did that. I think what's helpful to start with, if you don't know if it's even going to your functions, is if you put maybe a breakpoint at the first line of each function. Or you can put them on specific lines, like I'm not getting my prompt. So I'm going to just start by putting a breakpoint on the first line of each function. So you single click here, and you're setting a breakpoint. You'll see over here it says function code JS line 19. I do have some other functions here. Line 59, I'm going to select line 62 would be the first line of code, and then a line 90. So I have these breakpoints set. So I'm going to refresh this, again here or here to refresh. And you'll see that I didn't get anything yet because it's stopping in the middle of my program where my first breakpoint is. Now you have a choice. You can go to the next breakpoint by clicking this arrow in the upper right corner, or if you look at the little curved arrow in the upper right corner with a dot in between, that will go line by line. So let's do it first where it goes to the next breakpoint. So it's continuing down here, executing. I'm going to enter a 5, a 10, and now it stopped at the next first line of the breakpoint in check numbers. Because this function itself, main function, prompts for 2 numbers, has an if-else, and then calls check numbers twice. First sending the 2 parameters, and then the second time it calls it just sends a 1 and a 2. And then it calls a function called display message. So I did go into check numbers, and you could mouse over any variable and it tells you what it is, and it also tells you it over here in this window. So data 1 is a 5, data 2 is a 10. Now this brings up a point about local variables that we covered at the beginning of Learning Plan 5, is local variables are declared within a function, and it can only be used in that function. So up above in main, I'll just go here. Up above in main, number 1 and number 2 are local variables. They can only be used in here. So check numbers, I'm passing number 1 and number 2 to that check numbers function. But check numbers is calling number 1, now it's calling it data 1. Number 2 is being called data 2. So there's kind of a handshake going on from number 1 to data 1, number 2 to data 2. So these become the local variables in check numbers. So anything you do with that data that was being entered in the main function, you have to refer to it with those local variables in this function. So I'm simply adding to them, converting them to a number, because at this point you don't know if they're a number. And I'm adding, and I'm displaying a message. So I'm going to skip to the next function during execution. And now it called check numbers again, because remember up above it called it with the data you're entering, and then it called it simply with a 1 and a 2, kind of hard-coded, just to show you can reuse functions and pass it either variables or specific information. So you can see that data 1, data 2 already is being shown to you. You can mouse over it, shows you that. It also shows you in this little window over here that's called the local window. And then continue to run it. There's no more, I think there's one breakpoint in this display message yet. Yes, so it should stop, continue executing and stop there, which it does. Now if I mouse over, this variable is called Hello Marie, and that was declared way up above. So if I hit go on that to continue, you'll see these are my certain document write lines. And now I have a display from my display message function called Hello Marie. But interesting, you can see that my addition is not working correctly from the main function. 5 plus 10 is showing 10, 5 plus 10 is 15, which is correct, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So at this point, I don't have any syntax errors to solve, but I certainly have a logic problem. So what you can do, if you're running it again, let me just demo that again. Continue. I'll enter a 2 and a 4. So it stops. You can also choose, instead of skipping to a specific breakpoint, you can choose to just go one line at a time. And that is that little curved arrow with a dot underneath. So you'll see that there's no breakpoint where I have it on line 65, but it goes to the if statements. Continues each line at a time. So that is another way of checking, making you focus on each line. Maybe you have a ands and ors or an if incorrect or something like that. So you can keep going line by line using this curved arrow in your inspect window. And I'm just stepping through all my code. There again, let's look for our logic error. I got 2 plus 4 equals 4. So I'm going to pull up my brackets here. And that was from the main routine, not check numbers. You'll see that on line 32 I have total equals number 1 plus number 1. Well, that's why it's not giving me the incorrect total. This is a logic error. This should be number 2. Total equals number 1 plus number 2. So I'll save that again. Refresh this. And now my addition works. From the main function, 3 plus 6 equals 9. From check numbers, 3 plus 6 again equals 9. From check numbers, I passed it a 1 and a 2 equals 3. And then from display message, displays the message, Hello Marie. So at this point, it looks like my program is working. You can simply uncheck those breakpoints to eliminate them. So then the next time you run it, it should not stop for you. So I'm going to enter 4, 7, and immediately I get my output. I didn't have any breakpoints set. I cleared them all. So at some point, if you don't want this window open, you can always close that window within your browser. But again, anytime you're solving a syntax or trying to step through your code, right-click on your web page, click Inspect or Inspect Element, depending on if it's Firefox or Chrome. And then Console tab always gives you syntax errors, usually, sources will allow you to click in on the line number of the file you want to check. Click on the line number to check for any breakpoints, and then rerun it, and it'll stop on those breakpoints. Just to review, when you're running it, there is that in the upper right window. When you're running it with breakpoints, you can go from breakpoint to breakpoint, or you can step line by line. So you can review the video again for a good explanation of that again. Thank you.